好，同学们，好，同学们，我们都在轰轰烈烈的，站起来，站起来！Welcome to the 245th edition of China Now with your gang of two. Nansu, who is the senior investigative reporter for the Epoch Times, and yours truly, Michael Olson, who once dreamed in Chinese of going to live there, but who was dissuaded from doing so by the great helmsman himself, Mao Zedong. Each week, Nansu and I look across the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean from our home port in Santa Cruz Voice.com, and we ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? And always it's an interesting answer or attempt at an answer because nobody really knows what's going on behind that red curtain. We get little bits of pieces of information and we try to piece it together into a picture of what might be happening. War or peace, friend or foe. Always fun and interesting conversation with my good friend Nansu. Ni hao, Nansu. So Nansu, it seems like kind of a quiet week. We only have like about 10 stories to cover. But in general, it seems kind of like we're going into the dog days of summer, looking to what's going to happen in September and maybe October with respect to two very big events. One is the military parade in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, and also the fourth plenum. So let's go through those two really quickly. What is the significance of that military parade, Nansu?
Well, it depending on who is sitting at the center of the stage, right? If it's Xi Jinping, that means Xi Jinping is still have the most powerful position in the CCP regime. If it's not him, then it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen next in Beijing.
You know, one of the things that I find very interesting is the incredible effort put together by the Chinese PLA, People's Liberation Army, to stage quite an event in this military parade. It is a spectacular event, and it's so well orchestrated that it doesn't seem there's a thing out of place anywhere in the entire parade, and they put on quite a show doing it. And one of the things that I find remarkable is that in reviewing the troops, the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party rides in an open convertible up and down the line of troops, and so you get to see a real broad spectrum of the Chinese military, and they spend a lot of time learning how to march.
Oh, it's true. All the regimes that you're going to go see, all these kind of dictating regimes using military as the most powerful tool to control a nation. They usually do that. You go to Kim Jong Un, North Korea, or I don't know, all these countries. They all do the same things, especially the communist regime. Now they have like I don't know, maybe 15,000 troops, probably. I would say somewhere between 10 to 15,000 troops. That's going to be marching. That's going to be marching on the Tiananmen Square. Marching across in front of the whole regime leaders, and of course, there's a bunch of different regime leaders like Putin, like I don't know, maybe Lukashenko from Belarus, and maybe other countries.
Maybe Kim Jong Un too.
Yeah, maybe Kim Jong Un, and then, they have all these people. They already based on the report I saw, they kind of like have all these venues start occupying and put into the use, like start from March, and then and then that's based on the report. And then in May, which is like 4 months prior to the actual military marching, they have all these people, all these military soldiers. That those people who are going to join the military parade actually went into those training ground, right? Those are not those are the venue for the training ground. So you think about it, you have a tremendous amount of money you have to spend for a regime that's facing an economic downturn. And then they spend, I don't know how much money they're going to spend, but they're going to spend tremendous amount of money just to have these people, tens of thousands, um, maybe, I don't know, tens of thousands of people that's just living there doing nothing, just every day doing marching,
Yes.
just to make the regime leader look good on that couple hours of time.
And they're very good at looking good. They're very precise in how they present themselves to the world. I recall watching a video of a woman soldier uh, who was in one of the leaders of the marchers, and what she went through to become a marching leader was truly quite extraordinary. It's an amazing training regime that they go through. So that is their job, is to be a marcher. So I guess there's two things that we really need to watch on this September 3rd event for those of us who are interested in what's going on in China, is to look to see who is riding in that convertible reviewing the troops. That to me is going to be the sign of who's running the military, pretty much who's running the country. Because I guess the Chinese do have this saying, the power comes from the barrel of a gun, right? So the military is the
Government
power.
come from barrel of gun.
Barrel of guns, yeah. So, and then of course there is whoever's in the grandstand doing the speaking as a hugely significant as well. But that is a major event coming up, something to look for. What is the fourth plenum?
Well, I think first of all, as far as I can see from now, from this moment, it's going to be Xi Jinping, right? Xi
Right.
Jinping,
Well,
and
that's what
but
we all expect,
the
right?
Prime Minister Li Keqiang, his role, from what's being reported, it's like he is the he's taking the commanding position. He is going to go there just to report to Xi Jinping, say, hey, the soldiers are ready for your viewing, and then the standard processes, and then the Xi Jinping is going to come down from the stage, and then standing on the convertible, and then say things um, uh, in Chinese that's say and then the viewing the all the soldiers, and then all the soldiers are going to yell out the greeting to him, that kind of a process.
Right.
So, which really claimed Xi Jinping's leadership,
Hmm.
the communist dictating leadership. Now, the fourth plenary, if Xi Jinping is going to be showing that, taking that position in the military parade, then I think the fourth plenary is going to just another show of his power.
So you believe Xi Jinping is still in power, and that will
Well,
be
he is
demonstrated.
currently in
Yeah, he
power.
is in power. Yes.
This past week, the communist leaders in Beijing had this urban economic summit. It's not a regular meeting that's scheduled like the plenary meeting that's every year, but that meeting. It's it's not a scheduled regular meeting. and it only happened once. But I think it's about 10 years ago. Now Xi Jinping had this meeting again. This week, just 2 days ago, and pretty much every plenary member that's going to join the fourth plenary later this year were in the meeting. And the meeting doesn't really have a real agenda, except the showing Xi Jinping is in control. I think that I think based on what's going on now, a few months from now, on September 3rd, Xi Jinping is going to be the one who is going to be viewing and speaking at a military marching, and also he's going to continue his control of the Chinese Communist regime.
And if that's the case, he's going to continue his pursuit of invading Taiwan and controlling the South China Sea and the Western Pacific.
Well, invasion of Taiwan is still always going to be as a part of the bargaining power. But if when and how, and he's going to decide to do it, that's another question.
Yeah. Well, he always said 2027, right? Yeah, be ready by 2027. That was his directive to the PLA. Just
Yep.
get it ready, and there we go. Well, we had a number of other stories here. We have on the list, I have the CCP gets the AI chip from Nvidia. Wow, that's a pretty big deal. Why is that a big deal? Well, the AI chip from Nvidia is what China wants and needs to build a modern military. We ought to back up a little bit with respect to Nvidia, because it is the first company in history to gain a market valuation of $4 trillion. What the heck does it make that makes it such a huge company? Well, they have a chip that was essentially designed for video games, right? And
Yep.
what is so special about video games? It's the movement of players, of characters, of objects in the video game that make the video game exciting for people who play them. Zoom, zoom, zip, bop, bing, dong, doom. And things are moving really quickly and really quickly. And as the video games improved over the years, it became ever more important all along to build a more powerful chip to allow for that movement in the video screen. And NVIDIA was the leader, and NVIDIA's chip then became the focal point for artificial intelligence and weapons of the military, because of its ability to process a large amount of information in a very short period of time. Very, very powerful chips. And compared to chips that were designed for perhaps word processing, video games had to be much more advanced. And thus, NVIDIA had the chip. And they make it in Taiwan. And it's interesting Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is a dual citizenship in Taiwan and the United States. That's really a close tie to Taiwan and the United States. So really quickly go through this quick story here out of Epoch Times on July 14th. Jensen Huang has announced that NVIDIA will resume sales of its H20 graphics processing units to China, because the U.S. has given assurances that it will grant the tech giant's license applications. And the Trump administration did impose export controls on the NVIDIA's H20 chips in April. NVIDIA had explicitly designed the H20 chips to comply with the former administration's restrictions on the export of the advanced and high-performance AI chips to China. Evidently, Jensen Huang visited the White House, did a little let's make a deal with the Trump administration, and got assurances that President Trump would lift the sanctions against selling these chips to China in exchange for what, do you think, Nansu?
Rare earth.
Rare earths, right?
Yeah.
If, and this must have been the agreement, the trade agreement that Trump and Xi Jinping worked out with no details released to the public. But it appears as though the Nvidia chip and rare earths are the commodities that were agreed upon.
China is holding the rare earths as a ransom in exchange of our, high speed performance semiconductor chips. That's the way it is.
What China needed from the United States was Nvidia's chip, that high output processor, video processing that can do so much and process so much information. And what the United States needs from China was rare earths, because China has cornered the market, world's market for rare earths. And if we want it and need it, they have it, and we don't. Let's make a deal. Jensen Huang made this announcement in Beijing last month. He had already worked out the deal with Trump. Huang appeared to downplay U.S. concerns that Nvidia's AI chips could be used for military purposes by China's ruling Chinese Communist Party. I'd like you to tune in on this statement, Nansu, and chew on it for a moment. We don't have to worry about that because the Chinese military, no different than the American military, will not seek each other's technology out to be built on top of it. They simply can't rely on it. Makes sense. Now, it could be, of course, limited at any time. Not to mention, there's plenty of computing capacity in China already. Huang said they don't need Nvidia's chips, certainly, or America's tech stacks in order to build their military. So if they don't need it, why are they trading their rare earths for it? What do you think, Nansu?
Well, I think he's just trying to saying it to downplay the significance of the most advanced semiconductor chips, that how it's going to impact the military capacity of Chinese Communist regime. Of course, I think Jinsen Huang is trying to, just by saying that, make the regime leaders think he's a friend. I think well. First of all, he's smart. He knows the times are different now, than maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago. That all these tech corporations like Bill Gates, Microsoft, Google, all these corporations that can go to China to make tons of money. But time is very sensitive now, and Trump gave his chips to China because China really holding the rare earths as a ransom, right? So he is at a position, if say if he say too much, pro China things, he will be criticized. Again, he doesn't. He still want to give some sort of posture, that to friendly posture to Beijing's leader, because he has to do business over there. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Well, we need the rare earths. If they're like water in the desert, when it gets right down to our technology, we just need those rare earths. China needs the chips to compete militarily with the rest of the world. This H20 chip has been designed to be geeked down and less productive than the main chips that we have on our side. So we're
So
selling them
we have H100. China, what we gave China is H20, which is about 20% of this capacity
capacity.
of H100. But still, it's something that China cannot make for themselves. Think about that. What DeepSeek is doing, they purchase tons of
Smaller
Nvidia
chips.
semiconductor chips. That's what how Otherwise, they wouldn't even be able to have that DeepSeek. What you see here is just look at Yahoo. Yahoo was almost the very first wave of tech companies, corporations that went to China, right? So Chinese the regime took their technology, they developed their own thing like Baidu, Alibaba. Then they get Google and Yahoo out of China. Pretty much, that's what it is. Then the Microsoft, they they have their Asian research institute in Beijing, but that institute in Beijing, in China, from Microsoft, the really, if you look at today's China, all the big tech companies, the famous ones, their leaders, are all, most of them had experience working for Microsoft, the Asian Institute in China. So this kind of exchange, it's not good for the United States future security.
This seems like it wasn't something Trump would want to do, but had to do it.
Yeah, of course. This is like it's like a kidnapping the rare earths for exchange of the semiconductor chip, right?
Not a fun way of looking at it, but something that we have to look at because that's just the way it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Nan Su has a story about how the U.S. and Taiwan are really starting to work together on the defense of Taiwan. Another Taiwan story, following right up on Nvidia, which really is a Taiwan story. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
The Hook is California's first ever cannabis outlet. 100% locally owned and operated, we're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. We believe that everyone should have access to fairly priced cannabis. So we work hard to get it to you for 30 to 50% less than the other guys. If you're 21 or older with a valid ID, visit us in Capitola or in Watsonville today. We're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. Check out our website, hookoutlet.com, for deals and stay groovy.
Hello, I'm Carolyn. 25 years ago, my husband Rudy and I opened Charlie Hong Kong with a commitment to serve healthy food grown in healthy soil. Today, the healthy food we serve comes from the sacred land in Pajaro Valley, where Dick Peugeot and his Lakeside Organics grow the soil, and the soil grows the healthy plant that we serve to you. When you eat at Charlie Hong Kong, you eat healthy food, and it's delicious. Charlie Hong Kong, Santa Cruz.
Tomatoes, carrots, radishes, onions, squash, watermelon, all things we must eat regularly to survive. Hi, folks, Warren Knox here. Wouldn't it be great to just walk out your front or back door and right there you can pick pesticide and chemical-free food that you grew? You can do just that with a Knox Garden Box, a heavily constructed, elevated garden box that will allow you to grow just about any vegetable or flower there is. Sold assembled or unassembled, shipped worldwide. The therapy of gardening is just a call away. You can find your Knox Garden Box built in Scotts Valley, California, or log on to www.knoxgardenbox.com. Our staff will answer any questions on gardening, so if you don't have a green thumb, believe we can see that you do. Okay, phone number to call is 831-461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Welcome back. This is China Now with your gang of two, Nan Su and Michael Olson, and today we're taking this hour we're taking a pretty close look at our relationship with Taiwan. We started off with a story about the Nvidia chip and how Nvidia really came to be a good bridge, I guess, between China and the United States, because that's what it is right now. And Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, is the person going back and forth between Washington and Beijing, making himself the center point of the deal. So I understand, just a quick follow up with respect to the deal, no time has been announced for when those Nvidia chips are going to start to roll into China. And I suspect, as part of Trump's deal, was that having dealt with Beijing for quite a while, he knows that he better get something up front, because if he doesn't, he won't get it in the back. So I suspect he's going to say, ship the rare earths, we'll ship the chips, something like that. Nansu?
Yeah. Well, let's just wait. I think there's a tremendous things uncertainty, in the near future because Trump threatened to impose a secondary 100% tariffs for those countries who trade and support with Russia, right? So, and that's India and China. So,
Whoa.
is that what happened? What's going to happen? We don't know. And then Lavrov, a foreign minister of Russia, just right after Trump say that, visit Beijing, and Xi Jinping committed the continual support openly to the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So it's China going to subject to 100% secondary tariffs? I don't know, but it's something that's definitely interesting to see. What's happened next?
So Lazarov went to Beijing right after Trump made his comment. And of course, the only thing that's keeping Russia in Ukraine is China, in my estimation.
It's right. Tony Blinken visited Beijing last year. He came back from Beijing and said that Russia has been making weapons in the unprecedented speed in the human history. And the only reason that Russia has been able to do that is because they got 80% of the equipment, that's the defense industry equipment, that that actually manufactured, that's used for manufacturing weapons from China. So 70% of those equipments are from China, so they can continue this production of weaponry, defense industry production. And also 90%, more than 90% of electronics that's used for the defense industry manufacturing, that's also from China. And so so basically, just among that two different category of supply chain from China. That's how the Russian is able to keep the war continuing. And also, and the only reason that Russia it's able to fund all this military manufacturing operation is because they sell oil to China and India.
And with that, they have the currency to buy what they need when it gets right down
That's
to
right.
it.
They sell, the oil and gas, to in the cheap price to India and China, and then China,
Right.
providing all these machines Russia can use to manufacture weapons, and also China provide the electronics to Russia. So so if Russia want to continue this war, then China need to continuously providing all those things to Russia, which make China, subject to 100% tariffs when China's goods come to the United States. I don't know if Trump is really going to do it or not, but Trump Trump change all the time, right? No one
No
can
one can
predict
predict what
what
he's
he's going
going
to
to
do.
do. Yeah. Well, you know what? In general, it appears as what Trump is doing is firming up the battle lines in the international conflict between the I got democratic regimes and the more socialist totalitarian regimes where you have the West versus the East, I guess, as it is. He seems to be hardening the lines, whereas for 30 years, China's war with the U.S. was pretty much blurred. You know, we didn't really know what they were doing. I think they were following the maxim of Deng Xiaoping, who said, "Hide your strengths and bide your times." And when Xi Jinping came to power, he went along with that, but then hardened things off and started becoming the wolf warrior. I always wondered why he made that leap when he did, because it seemed like all they had to do was continue in their ways what they were doing, and they would have walked away with the world. But it seems like Xi Jinping started kicking sand in people's face and woke people up.
Well, I think Xi Jinping is facing tremendous. The communist regime in China is facing tremendous challenge from the private sector industries. I think that's what it is. So, out of their own need to stabilize the communist regime's ruling power, they have to beat down the private sector industry, and so for in order for the regime to continuously control the economy of China. Now they know once they start doing that, that the Western world it's not going to like it, right? That's for one thing, and inside China, and the second thing is uh, you know that's just for the economic side of the story. Now politically, once the private sector of industry control more and more China's economy, people have more and more freedom. The economic freedom really bring a lot of needs for other freedom, right? Especially freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and so Xi Jinping basically feel they need to have go they had in order to stabilize the regime, they have to go back to Chairman Mao's time to really have tight control on that, religious freedom, freedom of association, freedom of speech and media too. So they really he wants, so that's why he's going backwards, and at the same time he knows that when he do that in China, the Western world is not going to like it. And plus, China's economy has been developed to the point that, they have overcapacity issue, so they have to uh, do this economy trade relation with other countries in a very coerced way, which he knows sooner or later, countries around China and plus the Western world are not going to like it. So, in order for him to continuously to move down to that direction, he need a very strong military capacity. Chinese regime, they really, clear in their own mind because they there's the starting point of the communist regime is the government from the barrel of gunpowder
That's right.
of guns, right? So they really want to increase their military capacity to support their economic expansion all around the world. So that all three reasons together, you know, uh, control of China's domestic economy, control of people's freedom plus, you know, the coercive, military support capacity and support to their global economic expansion. All that three things together, it are the reasons driving Xi Jinping, doing everything quite different than what Deng Xiaoping did.
Do you think a sense of timeliness, of time, of the diminishment of time available to Xi Jinping is having an impact on him? Um,
Try.
his
I
own
don't quite follow your
longevity.
question.
Yeah, his own longevity. Seeing, the sunset years creeping up on him might have encourage him to move more quickly on Taiwan.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really the control of the regime. That's how these the Chinese communist regime really have a very strict, super strict selection process to select who is going to be the number one guy. The number one guy is the loyalty to the communist the purpose and communist the regime itself, and then the face to the communism. So pretty much everybody through this process to be selected, not elected, to be selected on the top of the Communist Party. They put every other purpose below the future. The purpose, the highest priority, it's the continuation of the ruling power of communist regime.
Okay. Another story you pointed to was that the U.S. appears to be pitching in a little more significantly with Taiwan on its defense armaments.
Yeah, well, the recent report indicate that the U.S. Troops are in Taiwan, Special Operation Force, like a Green Beret. It's in Taiwan. I'm not sure it's one battalion or maybe two battalions. The report wasn't very clear about that, but that's a huge movement because the boots are on the ground now, right?
Right. And are they there to participate in the military defense exercises being put on by Taiwan? I understand it's the biggest defense practice.
No, they are not. They are not part of it. I don't think that the report has indicated that they joined the military drill, the biggest military drill in many years. I think they still trying to keep it low. Uh, but however, it's happening. In the past many years, that what has happening is Taiwan sending their military troops like one battalion after another one to the U.S. To the United States and to receive trainings by the U.S. provided by the U.S. military. But now it's time is different now. So because the U.S. Special Operation Force is in Taiwan, they live there. In the past many years, they were U.S. government and the Taiwanese government have been saying that there were some U.S. military advisors. They are there helping, giving some
Right,
advice
right.
to
But
Taiwan's
this is a
military, and
battalion.
then also provide the service to help them to learn how to use the military equipment provided by the United States. So, but now, we are sending our boots to there.
There it's getting serious. So you made mention of an article that I happen to see as well as tanks rumbling through these Taiwanese villages, giant M1 Abrams tanks, and howitzers, and so we're starting to deliver some substantial weaponry.
Oh yes, we have we gave like a latest version of F-16s, and then all these missiles to Taiwan to help them to defend themselves. And also you can see those equipments during the Hangguang military drill. This is the annual military drill of Taiwan's military, and this year, their assumption is China, because Chinese military activity around the island is like on a daily basis. Every day, every pretty much every single day through the whole year, that you're going to have tens of Chinese warship, and then 20, 30 Chinese military airplanes make approach, to this,
To the line, to
to
the
the
line in the sand, right?
midline of Taiwan Strait and
Yeah.
around Taiwan. So this year they assume that what if one day all this military drill conducted by the Chinese military will all of a sudden become full scale invasion? How they're going to defend it. So they are, in the last few days, today is the ninth day now of the military drill. You see the Taiwanese military. They are on the streets of Taipei, the busy streets and subways. Assuming attack from all different
Directions.
direction. So they have to defend. They have to defend themselves. So it's real. It's real.
So the CCP has been ordering the PLA to make continuous practice attacks, one after the other, day after day, month after month, just to, one, psych out the Taiwanese people, terrorize them, and also for the PLA to practice these attacks. So when the big guy Xi Jinping says go, it won't look like anything that hasn't been going on for a long time, so people won't know if it's real or not until it happens.
Well, it's everybody is preparing, right? Japan, back
Yeah.
in May, they conducted a big drill to evacuate 120,000 Japanese citizens, residents of Okinawa. They assign, different neighborhood to be relocated to different cities in Japan, and then they checking how those cities preparing, to receive all these, hundreds of and thousands of Okinawa residents, and, the transportation, the housing housing capabilities, food, everything. So they it's real, because they know once the war started, they have to evacuate those people. It's better to evacuate them from Okinawa.
So in effect, the Chinese game is going on throughout the Western Pacific, and especially throughout the first island chain. And the country that seems to be taking the biggest brunt of all of this is the Philippines, where the Chinese are always in the Philippines waters, always kicking sand in the face of the Philippine people, as it were, always pushing, always shoving. And that's just going to go on for probably the duration. We had a story about that as well, that the impact on the Philippines is let's see, where was that? Let's see. Okay, here it is. Oh yes, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has condemned China's communist regime for continuing to defy a 2016 international arbitration ruling that rejected its sweeping claims in the South China Sea, as well as its increasingly hostile actions against its neighbors. In a statement on July 12th, this out of the Epoch Times, Rubio called the Chinese regime to abide by the 2016 arbitral ruling and cease its dangerous and destabilizing conduct. Rubio said the ruling, which has a unanimous decision delivered by a 5-member panel of the World Court, is legally binding on both Philippines and China and is a useful basis for peacefully resolving disputes between parties in the South China Sea. The 2016 ruling rejected the Chinese regime's 9-line claim to about 85% of the South China Sea's 2.2 million square miles, saying that Beijing's insistence that it owned this water, was inconsistent with the UN Convention on the Law of the Seas, which is a program that we featured in the past. Rubio said the 2016 ruling, China has ignored the decision, continuing to assert unlawful and expansive maritime claims, and taking increasingly aggressive actions against its neighbors. Beijing's expansive claims directly infringe on sovereign rights of jurisdictions of Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, and undermine peace and stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. Rubio said the United States supports a free and open Indo-Pacific. We seek to preserve peace and stability, uphold freedom of navigation, overflight, and maintain the free flow of trade, and oppose coercion to settle maritime disputes, which of course is what China's been doing, is using coercion. By how? By ramming Philippine boats, spraying its vessels with water cannons, firing flares at its aircraft, and with most of the incidents occurring around the contested Sabina Shoal in the South China Sea. So the Philippines took this to arbitration in 2013, and the World Court ruled unanimously in their favor against China. A number of countries have stood up in supporting the Philippines, including Canada, Japan. The Canadian Foreign Ministry put out a statement that says Canada continues to call on China to abide by the tribunal's decision and cease all actions that escalate tensions and threaten maritime. In response, a spokesperson for Chinese Foreign Ministry on July 12th called the 2016 ruling a piece of waste paper that is illegal, null and void, and non-binding.
Well, they didn't even come. They didn't even go to the court. They didn't even show up. They didn't even care. Because,
they had an arbitration.
Of course, they know, the reason they didn't show up is they know even if they show up, they're going to lose, right? So they just basically say, hey, we don't care wherever your ruling is. Of course, they automatically lost. That's I think that the ruling was made on July 12th of 2016, right?
Yes, 2016.
That's how arrogant they are.
Where did they come up with this 9-line?
Well, it used to be it started from the 11-line. What happened is, there was, I believe there was a Japanese navigator, it's just by himself. It's like an adventurer. He was navigated through that South China Sea. And then he just randomly, draw a dash line, total 11 dash lines on his own map and say, oh, this is, within this dash line, it's considered China's territory. That's a few hundred years ago. He just randomly just draw it because he was there. He's doing some sort of a mapping as he navigates all around the world. So he just draw a map, and China pick it up and say, "Oh, this is the evidence that the international recognition of South China Sea as China's territory." it's baseless, right? It's like anyone can do that. And hey, Michael, you can just tomorrow you can go to South China Sea. You can draw your own map. Now the only difference is he was there earlier than you do. That's it. And now the 11 dash line later become 9 dash line. It was because China, the communist regime in China, they had a good relation with Vietnam, and Vietnam, had a dispute about the 11 dash line. So basically, China just pick up a pencil, use the eraser, erase a 2 dash line out of the 11, so now it becomes a 9 dash line. That's what the story is about.
And there's a saying that possession is 90% of the law, or something like that. Whoever possesses it owns it. And that's
Well, the international law goes by if you have to really rule it and manage it. You really continuously showing your governmental power of the municipality, and that's how they're going to recognize your this is your sovereignty, right? So now, just because you went there, you visit there, that's what China often say. A couple hundred years ago we went there, or maybe there's a notebook left by the great grandpa that they went there. So therefore, that's the evidence that that's a sovereignty of China. That doesn't make sense. But actually, it's not a bad idea. I think that United States, we went to the moon, the first
we own
country.
the moon.
Maybe we can claim moon as our the sovereignty of the United States. And maybe someday we don't have to pay tax to our government. Maybe our government can collecting the moonlight service tax to the people in other countries, so we don't have to pay tax anymore.
There you go. It goes on like that. So the Chinese recognizes its own boundaries that nobody else recognizes, but it does.
That's right.
And it has the guns.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Everything they claim is baseless. That's how the international court at Hague that actually say, hey, it's baseless. The 9 dash line or 11 dash line, all this BS, they are really baseless.
There you go. Well, that is the story in the first hour. Things are on edge still. We're looking at September 3 to get a good sense of where things stand in the Chinese Communist Party. If we see Xi Jinping standing at the center of the reviewing stand on that great military parade, or perhaps riding in the convertible, yelling exhortations to his troops and having them yell them back, then we'll know that Xi Jinping is still in a pretty strong position. When we come back from the top of the hour break, we've got some great stories. Green China runs on black coal. 5 takes on Trump's Brazilian trade war. Why has Brazil popped up in the picture? That's an interesting one. China is pledging ever closer ties with Russia, and perhaps we'll see that when it comes to the September 3rd event. And then Green China runs on black coal. Do stay tuned. We will be right back after these important news and an important message or two.